would also like to thank all the United Nations associations and the delegations from all over the world, and other distinguished guests, speakers, and students. Very welcome. Thank you especially, of course, to Mario. Everyone has been thanking you for hosting not only this seminar, but the entire plenary assembly. It's really fantastic to be here, and it's wonderful to be back in Rio. We will find every excuse to come back again to Brazil. It's such a beautiful country. And of course to IBMEC. You have such beautiful facilities. When we were here a couple of months ago, everything top modern, everything working, everything in order. I think all of the rooms also during the plenary assembly sessions, you will see how wonderful and modern and efficient it is. So thank you so much for allowing us to be here. It's also very fitting that we are here in Rio discussing it, considering these at least two pivotal conferences that have taken place here in Rio on this journey, the most recent one, of course, being Rio Plus 20. I just saw our digital media officer, so I feel compelled to we have Twitter feeds. If you all please laugh a little bit, I will take a picture of you, and you can watch yourself on our Twitter. It's #WFUNA Plenary. If you're wondering what hashtag is, you're probably not on Twitter. You know, the proclamation of the Millennium Declaration and the adoption of the Millennium Development Goals in 2000 was really a turning point for the United Nations as well as for the international community. Never before had governments come together, especially so many heads of states, and really committed to achieving specific time-bound targets to improve the livelihoods and opportunities of the citizens. And for WFUNA in particular, of course, and all our United Nations associations, the MDGs, really turned out to be a rallying point that helped to re-energize our organization. It was quite a challenging time in our internal history, and the United Nations associations, many of which are here today, found common ground in these goals and began to work with their national membership, the UN system, the governments, other civil society organizations, the corporate sector, and all the other stakeholders involved, really, to spread the word about the MDGs and advocate for their achievement. And it has been fascinating to see, and I'm sure all of you have also looked at your fellow United Nations associations to see all the creative and really amazing, very different types of successful, both bilateral and multilateral UNA initiatives, many of which are still ongoing today. Now, the MDGs have made a huge impact in the lives of billions, but there's still much more to be done to address extreme poverty, diseases, and environmental crises. And today here we want to take advantage of an opportunity. The post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda is, as you know, it's a top priority for the United Nations and the United Nations community, which is coming together in an unprecedented way in some respects to reshape and reinvigorate global development efforts. And these processes are happening right now. We will be talking more about them in the panel discussions, of course, and the following days. So WFUNA and all of the United Nations associations really have an opportunity to become key partners to the UN system in their design and implementation of the post-2015 agenda. So we have a chance to show our support for the United Nations by giving input exactly where and how it's being asked for at this present time. The United Nations Development Architecture for the period after 2015 will build on the progress achieved through the MDGs, while also trying to confront persistent inequalities and new challenges facing the people of the planet. So lifting people out of poverty, protecting the planet's resources are two sides of the same coin, and they should really be considered together. That's part of the plan of the SDGs, which we will be discussing. So this concept of sustainable development goals, or the SDGs, As you know, the United Nations is famous for its acronyms. There are so many different acronyms. This is going to be another one. And the same way that we've all learned to understand what MDGs are, I think SDGs will be the next acronym that UNAs will rally around. And this concept of the SDGs was really solidified here in Brazil during the Rio Plus 20 conference, where countries agreed on the need, as Minister Clini said, the need for developing a second generation of a global development agenda and goals that are universally applicable and add also a new level of complexity. So although the SDGs are the primary focus of our seminar today, it is important to note that they do not exhaust the content of the overall post-2015 agenda, but they will certainly be at its core. So on the topic, and perhaps start off some discussions that we will continue in the panel discussions. I'd like to present 6 propositions to consider regarding the SDGs. The goals, of course, should be forward-looking, tackling tomorrow's problems, not only yesterday's or even only today's problems. And this is a challenge that will require a lot of both research, consultation, and planning, and we'll come back to this later on in the discussions. They need to be multi-dimensional if equity and sustainability are to be met, integrating social, environmental, economic considerations, and achieving this harmony will be very challenging, but not impossible. And I believe that the UN associations can really bring together various experts and opinion makers to distill ideas and contribute solutions to this undertaking. 3, the goals should be few in number, focused and simple. Prioritization will be key, and UNAs can play a major role in helping bring their members' voices into this decision process. I think one of the things that made the MDGs quite attractive was that, you know, we had 8 MDGs, not necessarily that those 8 goals were simple or easy to achieve, but it was much easier to communicate than a comprehensive development or poverty eradication agenda. And this is something that we need to be careful when we come into the SDG process, that it suddenly does not become, you know, a 200-page action plan document with 58 different goals and 200 subsections. So this is also something that's quite important, especially for our organization, since a lot of the work we do, as Minister Clini said, that WFUNA and the UNAs should be key in information and awareness raising. We need to have something that we can communicate. The goals should be universal, ensuring coherence in what has become a more complex world of development work. So governments, civil society, academia, science, private sector, public at large should be engaged in the process. For this to happen, they have to be informed and understand the process and the issues. Again, a possible role for our organization. We can do what we do best, educate and inform the public about the United Nations work on the post-2015 planning. 5, the development of the goals must happen through an open and inclusive process. And one of the panel discussions, as you know, is focused exclusively on the process and one on the substance. So WFUNA as an organization, we've already joined a network of over 380 other leading NGOs and come on board with the Beyond 2015 network. You can find more information on our website on this. The Beyond 2015 network is a global campaign aiming to influence the creation of the post-2015 development framework and calling specifically for a participatory, inclusive and responsive to voices of those directly affected by poverty and injustice. So it focuses very much on making sure that SDGs are created in a much more inclusive way than the MDGs were. And finally, and I think one of the panelists was saying as we were staying in the foyer, the 6th point, let's be critical. WFUNA and the UNAs, we are the best friends of the UN, but this does not mean that we should not draw attention to consider all sides of an issue and opinions, and not only the most flattering, but we have to be able to offer the best solutions and honest reflections. And the 2015 or the post-2015 process will by no means be simple. There are already many tensions out there, and we will discuss some of them. Tensions between very important different stakeholders, such as the environmental sector, the development sector, other interest groups, who have to find a way to come together. And some even question the very foundation of global goal setting. So UNAs, again, are well positioned to facilitate a dialogue between these different stakeholders and these multiple viewpoints that can hopefully feed back into the larger process. So there are many more issues, and this is just an introduction here, of course, to this entire seminar, but there are many more issues related to the SDGs. Timing, costs, financing, implementation, monitoring, reviewing, verification process. It can be and is very complicated. So the idea here is that we aspire today to just introduce these issues and spark interest in further investigation. So my hope for this seminar is that we can achieve two goals. The first one, to basically get a little bit at least on the same page. Many UN associations are already doing work on the MDGs, but also on the post-2015 development agenda and the SDGs. Others have expressed an interest to become involved in the work. They're looking for further information, clarity on some of the very complex issues, and hopefully by the end of the day, at least, we will have we can come away having learned a little bit more, so that we, at least most of us, will still be confused, but on a slightly higher level. And finally, the second point is to spark some initiative. Now that we will be well informed, that we're able to take the next steps to action, the UN gears, and this will be introduced by UN officials here, is already moving. The Secretary General of the United Nations has appointed a high-level panel, as you know, of eminent persons. The new Sustainable Development Solutions Network has been launched. They have initiated global conversations about these issues, including national consultations, which are beginning now all over the world, and where UNAs can get directly involved. There will be more information on this. And the UN just announced the My World campaign a few days ago, which will provide a platform for individual level engagement in the process. So there will be many important milestones in the coming year, and I urge you all to keep track of them, to find opportunities for input from your UN association and from yourselves as individuals. And the speakers will discuss these processes in further detail over the day. So the takeaway, however, is that the possibilities for involvement are limitless. I hope that after today's briefing and what promises to be a hopefully lively discussion, interactive also with you as participants, the conversation will continue in the coming days and in the coming years, and that you will plan, consult with each other, exchange ideas for activities that your UNAs can do to support this important milestone in the future of the United Nations. Thank you.